Hello, everyone. Hello, fellow translators. I'm here talking to Jane, also known as Yeon Jung, also known as someone who is all over the place and doing many interesting things. And if you are on LinkedIn, you're a translator, you've probably come across some of her posts. She is all over on LinkedIn, but she's also written books and quite a few books. She has her own courses. She's translated books. She's getting into computational linguistics lately, so be careful. And she's involved in a whole lot of things, and she's very good at branding as well. And in fact, just introducing all the stuff she does, I think we're out of time now, and that's it. Thank you so much for joining me, Jane. I'm very interested into getting into this conversation and talking about all the things you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me, Robert. It's such an honor to be in this great channel. I have been watching it mostly recently, but I was really impressed and inspired by your work. So again, thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me. And let's start off with a question that I'm very curious about, and I know someone commented on YouTube as well. And this is book translations. And so I know you've translated a couple books. And I'd like to know how you got into that, and how basically, how you got into that, how you were able to find these jobs as a book translator.
Okay, I can answer that pretty easily because that's my passion. So book translation has been my passion the whole time. Of course, I've been engaged in industrial translation. I ran my own agency for a little over 2 years. Now I'm back in my freelancing work, and also I'm engaged in many of the localization work, right? Because I was an in-house linguist as a Korean linguist for English and Korean language. So I've been engaged in many localization projects and industrial translation and everything, but book translations were the whole time my passion, the only passion. So I wanted to, at some point, I wanted to really make sure that I come back to book translation. When I was in my 20s, I started as a book translator, but the money was just so little, I just couldn't, keep going. Just because of that reason, I had to, find many other things, and I got into the industrial translation. But I'm now over 40, so I kind of got this feeling that now it's probably the time I can kind of choose anything I want to do, right? So it's okay for me to strive for my passion again. So last year, I really massively contacted publishers, literary translation agency over in South Korea. And I got really lucky. One of these agencies gave me a chance to, do some review work for translations. This review work is what it means is really to review the books so that for the publishers to have some document to review upon the books, whether it is really valuable to be publishing by investing their own money. So for them to make that decision, they need some proof, right? Or some document to, to really go through the books before it is really actually translated. So I really wrote many of those review documents so that I kind of get the idea, get the hang back of it after so many years. So, during the work, I got really lucky again. So I really got into these 2 real book translation processes. So I translated those 2 precious books solely myself. Before it was co-translation, I really enjoyed the collaboration process too, but this time these 2 books were solely done by myself. So I would recommend to you, if you're really interested in it, if it's your real passion, there will always be a way for you to make it happen. So contact to publishers, connect with literary agencies, and ask the right questions. Like in your countries or in different countries, it might be different, right? So I'm only talking from my own experience in South Korea. I normally work through literary translation agencies, but it's also possible to directly connect with the publishers. So it really depends on your own culture and language pairs, what you want to do, and even the topics. Like some publishers publish only these topics, right? So know about your field and get those people to be answering your own questions by reaching to them. So yeah, just keep that in mind that you should be doing something for it to be happening in some time soon or in the future of your own life.
So, and just to, yeah, delve a bit more into that, because I know quite a few people are interested in this. So you said to contact, yeah, publishers and literary agencies. In your experience, so the publishers and the agencies that you contact are in Korea and already, or are they abroad?
The publishers I'm mentioning about are all in Korea. So
Right.
they would be looking for those books from, let's say, English spoken world, and then, give the translators reviewing work so that they, to get them review for them. So we document it in, like, let's say 10-page or 15-page review documents. It will contain summaries of the book, how I feel about the book, would it do well in Korean market, what do you think? So my opinions would, be put into it. And also, like, sometimes some more researches about the authors and everything else. So it's more the publishers in Korea. But I think it should work kind of similar in anywhere in the world, because somebody should review the book to be translated, or at least plan to be translated. And then they also check through your review document whether your translation will be a good match for that specific book.
Right. Okay. And I guess the main thing I was wondering about was exactly. So if you translate from English to Korean, you contact these agencies in Korea. But like if someone wanted to translate, say, a Korean book into English, it might be publishing houses in the US or somewhere else.
Exactly.
that they contact. Yeah.
Yes.
And because I've also been asked if you should contact the author as well, but in my experience, they usually have nothing to do with or they don't have anything to do with choosing the translator. Although later, sometimes you can work directly with the author. But
I'm sorry if I was mentioning like contact the author, I was wrong. Yeah,
no.
don't contact the authors, but
Yeah.
the publishers. I was probably wanting to say the publishers.
No. You
Yes.
said that. I only said author because people ask about that as well.
Oh, really? No. Authors don't get into this business. Yes, translators are chosen by the publishers or the agencies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And by the way, I should apologize. In the long list of all the stuff you're doing, I think I didn't even mention that you are an English to Korean translator. And,
no. I could mention that myself. I forget all the time. I just kind of starting to, yes, forget things. But yes, so I am a English to Korean translator. And I am a localizer too. I used to run a small agency of my own too. Now I'm back in freelancing business. So I only translate for myself.
Okay. And I want to talk a bit about branding. And just because you're very good at it, I don't know if it's something that you try to do on purpose or not or what, but you are, you're in many different places, I feel like, and you're involved in many different things, and it just seems very interesting. And so, yeah, if you just have some tips, first of all, if you think branding is important or it's something you enjoy doing, and if you have tips for other people who might be interested in kind of getting out there and, getting well known and getting to know other people.
Yes, thank you for asking, and thank you for saying that. I'm really, really like flattered, and I'm very, very happy that I'm being known to the other people, because I have been working as a translator for quite a while. I know how important it can get to get yourself known in the world. Like if you're running an agency, it's a different story. It is your business to be known, but as a freelance translator, you yourself should be becoming a brand. Otherwise, it's really like but all these things are, if you're already very, very confident in getting all different kinds of work from your clients, and you always like make sure you provide good quality work and everything. So once you're sure about yourself, your translation quality and the business attitude and whatnot, then I think it gets to become a game of a branding, like who gets to be known better to the world or to the clients. So it may take a little while or more than a while rather, but these days it's happening just so fast because we have this SNS, including InClean, which I often use. Like I post like I am crazy. I post a lot of things. So this is the sum of things because I think it can get like be valued. Like initially I didn't think it would be because I was also sharing some of my, concerns and worries, like those things too, right? Very honest feelings and authentic feelings and everything. I thought I wasn't too sure about whether it will be helpful to others or not, but I was getting so many like, good comments, and like they were like, they knew what I was going through and they knew what I was like, they kind of appreciated that I was sharing it. So then I started to feel, probably these are the things people want to hear from me, because these are like real life, these are authentic life. These are not only like positive things all the time. I am going through many different aspects of life, and many people, or every person, I should say, are going through pretty much the same thing. As a translator too, we have oftentimes many similarities because of our work and whatnot. So as someone who has been doing this for a long while, if I had someone like myself, I thought it must have been kind of great, because she's willing to share about her life and work, and people might get some good tips from it somehow. So I just started to share a little more. So it's a little bit of my life and work, and most of the time work, but many things that I'm doing in my life other than just translation. I like making things, so I sometimes share about my paintings too. Those creative sides can like get many good comments too, like, because there are people who know translation work can be very stressful. It is good to have to, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, these days I'm just sharing my honest feelings and information, everything all together. It kind of became a brand, I think.
Yeah, and obviously I'll link to your LinkedIn here below. But yeah, and I think it helps kind of give a peek into your life and the life of a translator, and not only just the translation work but everything else. And so yeah, I think a lot of people can find it very helpful.
Yes, because branding in the end, I'm sorry, at the end of the day, it's really differentiate yourself, like what you are different from others. So I think sharing some of your life other than translation sometimes also helps, and of course along with the tips as a translator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, before I forget, I also want to talk about your books and courses, because you've written several books and you have several courses out. As far as I know, they're all in Korean, correct?
Yes.
And so could you tell a bit more about what these books and courses are about and how you got into them?
Of course, my courses are generally about branding, personal branding as an expert, and also, how you do self-management. So I get a lot of questions about time management, self-management, and whatnot, right? I don't do time management. It's just because once you get the flow, once you get the hang of it, there's just no need to do time management separately, because it's more work. I already have tons of work to do. We all do, right? So it's just more of your mindset and how you control your own life from your own like perspective, and however works it the best for you. So I think it's really important for us experts to get to know ourselves better, and to set up our own life and like even lifestyle as the way it is that works the best for us, is what it is in my online courses. And of course, there are many other things I'll be touching on, but these are the main themes. And the books I wrote is about generally entrepreneurship and also the literature. Literature has been always my passion, so I'll just don't touch on it because there are just too many things to talk about. But yeah, it is one of my main topics. But the other side, entrepreneurship, is really, really important because, you know, I went through all those times when I didn't know about it at all. So I didn't know how to make this business happen or nothing. So this took me just so many years to like figure out what I was doing wrong, what I was doing right. So I started to share some of my experiences, especially for the ones what I would do if I were you. For example, if I was talking to someone and they were asking me questions, if they are a translator or there are some other professionals, right? If they wanted to get those advices, I wanted my book to be a great guide for them to figure out on their own. So I would share some of those entrepreneurs part of my life too in many of my books. So it like, and some other books contains something about writing and some other things and generally my life. But yeah, those are two main topics, literature and entrepreneurship.
Excellent. So, and if it's okay, I'll link to those as well, even though they're all in Korean. But so if you speak Korean, at least, yeah, I can link to those as well because I think that'll be quite interesting. And another thing that I was asked about in the comments was about computational linguistics, which I know is something that you've gotten into recently. And so could you discuss a bit about that and also how you keep up to date, because this is a field that's a lot of changes going on, and how you go about that.
Exactly. So this is another topic I'm super like excited about. I am sharing many good tips on my channel. so if you type in Jane Kim, I think it'll lead to my channel. So you can watch some of the topics because it's a huge area too, right? So I was connected by and reached out by some of the translators who were interested in getting into the computational linguistics field. It is another huge area, so it'll take time. So it is not something that we can do quickly, but how it happened to me is I'm not a computational linguist yet, but my plan is to start the freelancing more at least from next year, if that ever happens. At least that's what I'm striving for right now, because that's just some more work, and that is the topic I'm super excited about too, right? And how I got interested at all in the first place is I was reached out by one of the recruiters for freelancers for computational linguistics. So I kind of feel that this is kind of a blue ocean, not many competition yet, because not many people are aware of it, or I don't know what it is yet. I'm also figuring it out, but I was reached out by him or her, and then I thought I didn't know about the field at all. Like before, I had this short experience. Like anyhow, I'm mentioning all this because this is too much information. Probably I'll just share the shorter version. So yeah, and then I felt bad because I didn't hear back again, and I started to train myself about the field because there must be some reason, like they are looking for people, right, to do that. Right. So I got into this field, like I did my own research, I dig into this. I got super really excited because it's mostly speech recognition projects, and they need language experts to make the, for example, sentences so that the computer understands. Right. So yeah, it is basically what they do as a computational linguist, from how I see at least at this moment. So I'm also like sharing, like I am also getting there myself. So I'm not one yet, but yeah, I got interested because it means it's like something that will bring you more work in the future, is what I'm thinking. Yep.
Right. So it's an investment for future
yes.
work. Yeah.
Yes.
And so what do you, are there any publications or any websites or anything that you think are useful for computational linguistics specifically?
So yeah, there are no specific journals I get to read on a regular basis, but connect with those people who are on my video interviews on my channel. Those are the experts you might want to contact or follow because they publish their own, information about computational linguistics field and NLP and machine learning. So you get the idea of what they do and what it is needed. So it is a really complex field. It won't happen like overnight. So I am thinking, even for myself, taking this journey to a 2 to 3 year one. So even if I start freelancing like next year, there will be a lot to be learned. And that way, I think I will gradually, get to a professional or expert level. So it is how you do it is my recommendation.
Okay, yeah, no, and because I agree. I think it's going to be a very interesting field, and I know quite a few people are a bit scared of it, but yeah, I think it'll be quite interesting to see how it develops in the next few years. And another thing I kind of wanted to discuss was, well, your reading habits, because I know you read a lot, or at least you're always mentioning different books, including the one on the translation agency that I ended up reading and enjoying quite a bit. And so I kind of wanted to ask about that. You seem to enjoy reading quite a bit. And so how do you pick which books to read, and what books do you read usually? Are they usually for work or just all over the place?
Okay, that's a really, really great question. Thank you for asking. I read for my work. Like these days, my reading is work, so I take it very seriously. So how I do it these days, I'll just tell you how I do it these days, right? Before it was for a hobby, I would read any books I would like, enjoy for my, time off. But these days it's time on, definitely. It is a work time. If I read a book, I make sure to like utilize it. So how I read it is I don't read the whole book most of the time these days because I read tons of books, at least 40 books a month. And there's no way I can like finish from the beginning to the end if I'm reading 40, 50 books a month, right? So I choose the topics for the books, whatever that can be used for my own writing or making contents, let's say. So I pick those topics. So for example, whatever the real topic is, if I am really into writing about the writing process, I'm just making this up, but for just to give you an idea how it works. If I am to write about my writing process, I also need some other background knowledge, right? I just don't want to, throw anything to people because that way people won't trust your book. So I will at least read, let's say 20, 30 books at least for that field so that I get the idea of the field. And be ready to write about it from my own perspective. Sometimes there are books I really actually quote if I really like it and if it's something that I agree with. Or even, mention the topic of the books by listing them on some pages of my own book. But I do read because of that reason. Sometimes I read for my own, development. There are a lot of self-help, self-development books out there, right? That keeps me running and very, very motivated most of the time. So I take that as work too, because it makes me feel like I want to, work and be better at what I do. So those are another main area that I, read, self-development, self-education, and many of the technology or futurology stuff for my writing and education of myself. And sometimes if I want to write about other things, I would pick some good books or recommendations by some other people, like at least 10, 20, 30 books of those topics so that I can, within the limited time window, I can develop the knowledge very fast.
And and where do you find out about these books? And I'm just wondering because, like the one that you posted about the translation agency, I didn't even know about that book, and and you posting it made me quite interested, and then I did end up reading it. And so yeah, how do you find out about all of these books? And do you just search for them on Google, or do you have another place?
Okay, thank you for asking the good question again. I get information everywhere. So
Okay.
any moment I see good book, I always do take a memo or like screen capture. Any way that works for you is okay. But the point here is I, keep that title of the book, whatever the moment I see it. So this one you asked about, I found on LinkedIn feed. I forgot whose feed it was, so sorry. If I knew your name, I would be bringing that up. If that's okay with you. I forgot where I saw, like from whose feed I saw it, but I saw it on LinkedIn. Or it can be Instagram. I follow many of the booktubers or book, recommenders on Instagram too. So they like share tons of books. There are just so many books. And I also search on the library website, on my local library website. So how I do it is I put on keywords for my, for example, book writing. If I'm writing about Norwegian novels, I'll type in Norway novel, something like that. And whatever that, gives you the list to, I will go into the library or even bookstore and then look for the book and, skip through the pages and you'll know how good it is already, right? So among those really good ones I will bring, the book you already read, I'm sorry, I didn't like it too much. I wasn't too crazy about it, but I at one point I posted about it. So it feels like I was recommending it. It was before I read it. So yeah, I had to make this video because after reading this, probably this is not like, as you already pointed out on your post, it's not like, a go-to book for freelance translators per se, but it gives you the good idea of how how fragmented our industry is, how our industry is sectioned, and everything. So just a general idea is good enough, I think. So it's always something that you can learn from something, but for the point of saving time, I sometimes, when I'm looking for books to write my own book, I would just generally go for the recommendations by those influencers or myself. Like I always believe in my own decision about book choices. So yeah, it's just everywhere. The moment I see it, I just capture it.
Okay. Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned that because yeah, like you say, I found the book wasn't that helpful. I found it quite interesting, yeah, for about the industry, but it wasn't quite that helpful for setting up a translation agency. And I think I wrote about that on LinkedIn, and I thought I was kind of honest and not mean, but yeah, about it. But I noticed the author of the book commented and said, "Oh yeah,
Oh,
you're
really?
spot on about that." Yeah, and then later, and he even commented, he's like, "Could you write a review on Amazon, please?" I'm like, "Okay." And so I wrote the same review on Amazon, but and like I said, I was honest about it. But I guess they know, that's.
But yes, it is
Okay.
something, and it is
Yeah,
always good to have another view and explanations to explain about your own field. Like I feel this is probably me, but let me know about how you feel too, because I feel there is this lack of information about our industry in general. So
yeah,
we just, because it's just so fragmented and there are just so many languages and so many ways you can do business with it, it's just lack of information in general. So if a person like yourself is to write a book, I think that'll be a great idea. Someone with a really fair mind and with a lot of experiences, someone who can tell from like there should be something like more is what
yeah.
it is yeah, how I feel.
And well, I have to admit, after reading that book, I was thinking, should I write a book on setting up a translation
Exactly.
agency?
Yes, yeah.
And I have the course, and so maybe it might be worth looking into making that into a book. But I'll see if yeah.
Yeah, I
I'll
mean,
see about
just,
that.
put that together in a set because you already have the online class. And
Right.
if you, provide it with a book, it'll be beneficial for people like myself because I usually prefer books. Of course, I
Yeah.
do take online courses, many of them, and I make, online courses, but there are people and books are always different. It's
Yeah.
like, yes, it's just a good material to refer to. So I think it's a good idea if you start writing a book. It'll be helpful for all of us. Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, yeah. Now it's been in the back of my mind, so we'll see. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if I'm able to carve out the time, I can do something like that. But anyway, I don't want to take up too much of your time, and thank you so much once again for joining me and joining us and answering all the questions about all the things you do. I will have links to everything down below: your LinkedIn, books, courses, also your channel, and whatever else. I'll link to it down below. And yeah, and thank you once again.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great weekend, and thank you again.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Sabido.